My name is Nicole. I am 29 years old. I used to believe that love was a force that could conquer anything, a magical solution that could mend any crack. I was wrong. My story begins with Ryan. When I first met him, it felt like a spark had ignited in a quiet room. He had kind, brown eyes that seemed to hold a gentle world within them, and a voice that was soft and reassuring. He had a gift for making me laugh, for making me feel like I was the most important person in the world. I was working in a small, cozy clothing shop downtown. He came in one afternoon, supposedly to buy a shirt, but he ended up staying for an hour just to talk to me. The memory of his smile that day is still so vivid. It felt like a scene straight out of a romance movie. Our connection grew quickly. We started talking every day, and he would often visit the shop just to catch a glimpse of me. After 2 weeks of these brief encounters, he asked me out for coffee. I eagerly said yes. That single coffee date blossomed into dinner, and those dinners turned into a beautiful routine. Soon we were inseparable. For the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely happy, deeply safe. At that time, Ryan was unemployed. He told me he had lost his job due to company cutbacks, and I accepted his story without question. I told him it was okay, that I earned enough to support both of us until he got back on his feet. He began staying at my apartment most nights. I took care of him, cooking his meals, washing his clothes, and offering him all my love and time. I gave him everything I had. 6 months went by, and Ryan was still without a job. Yet he always seemed to have new shoes, stylish clothes, and even a new watch. When I gently questioned him about it, asking, "Where does the money come from?" he would flash that charming smile and say, "A good friend is helping me out." I desperately wanted to believe him, so I pushed my doubts aside and chose to trust his words. But one evening, my world came crashing down. I came home from work earlier than usual. As I opened the door to my apartment, the sight that greeted me shattered my heart. Ryan was on my couch, laughing intimately with another girl. To make it worse, she was wearing my favorite t-shirt. My heart plummeted into a cold, dark abyss. He jumped to his feet, his face pale with shock. "Nicole, it's not what you think," he stammered. The girl looked at me, utterly confused. "Who is she?" she asked him. I couldn't find my voice. I just stood there, staring at them, my legs feeling like they would give out from under me. A heavy weight settled in my chest, making it hard to breathe. I turned around, picked up my bag, and walked out without a word. That night, I sought refuge at my best friend Bates' house. She wrapped me in a warm blanket, handed me a hot cup of tea, and listened as I sobbed into a pillow like a lost child. "Why would he do this to me?" I cried. Bate held my hand and said softly, "Because some people are takers, Nicole. They don't know how to give." The next day, Ryan bombarded me with calls and messages. "I'm so sorry," he wrote. "It was a terrible mistake. I love you." I ignored every single one. A week passed, then another. Finally, he showed up at my shop, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Please, Nicole," he pleaded, his eyes filled with what looked like genuine remorse. "She meant nothing to me. I was stupid. I want to fix this." I looked into his eyes. He seemed broken, thinner, and exhausted. "I miss you every single day," he whispered. My heart, ever so soft, ached for him. I still loved him. Against my better judgment, against every warning bell in my head, I took him back. Bate was furious. "He hurt you so deeply," she argued. "He will only do it again." I defended him, saying, "People make mistakes. I believe he can change." For a short while, things were better. Ryan was attentive and sweet. He helped with chores around the house and made me laugh again. He even found a part-time job at a local car wash and started contributing to the bills. "This time, I promise I will be better," he said, and I wanted to believe him more than anything. 3 months went by, and a fragile sense of normalcy returned. "He's really trying," I told Bate. "I think he's finally changed." But a small, persistent voice of doubt lingered deep inside me. He started staying out late again, always with an excuse about his boss or a friend needing help. Sometimes my calls would go unanswered for hours. When he finally came home, he would seem agitated and nervous, talking quickly to brush off my concerns. "It was just work stuff," he'd say. One night while tidying up, I found a hair clip in his bag. It was pink, decorated with tiny pearls. It wasn't mine. I held it up. "Whose is this?" I asked. He glanced at it and said, "It's yours, isn't it?" "No, it's not," I replied firmly. He laughed it off. "Then it must be Bate's. Maybe she dropped it when she visited." Bate had never brought a bag into our home, and she never wore hair clips. I knew he was lying, but the thought of another confrontation was too exhausting. So I said nothing. The warning signs became more frequent and harder to ignore. He started locking his phone, changing his passwords, and always placing it face down on the table. When I asked him why, he turned it around on me. "You don't trust me," he'd accuse. "I want to," I'd reply, "but you hurt me once. I just need to feel safe." He would kiss my forehead and whisper, "You are safe with me." But his actions told a completely different story. One weekend, he announced he was going to visit his cousin, packing a small bag and promising to be back by Sunday night. Sunday night came and went with no sign of Ryan. He didn't answer his phone. I called him 5 times. Nothing. I sent a message. "Are you okay?" Still no response. He finally returned on Monday morning looking disheveled and tired. I met him at the door. "Where were you?" I asked. "I told you I was with my cousin," he said, avoiding my eyes. "Then why didn't you answer my calls?" I pressed. "My phone died," was his quick reply. "Where did you sleep?" "At his place on the couch." I just stood there, looking at him. I was too tired to fight, too emotionally drained to argue. I turned and walked back to the kitchen, a cold feeling spreading through me. Later that day, Bate called. "Nicole," she said, her voice gentle. "I saw Ryan yesterday." "Where?" I asked, my heart sinking. "At the mall. He was holding hands with a woman. They were laughing." My mind went blank. The world seemed to stop. "Are you sure?" I whispered. "Yes," she said. "I wish I wasn't." This time, I didn't cry. I just sat down on my couch and stared at the wall, feeling completely empty. He had done it again. After all my forgiveness, after all his promises. I waited for him to come home that night. When he walked in, I asked him calmly, "Were you really with your cousin?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. I looked him straight in the eye. "Bate saw you with someone else." His face instantly changed. His eyes darted around the room. "She must be mistaken," he stammered. "Don't lie to me anymore," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "I know the truth now." He tried to speak, to offer another excuse, but I raised my hand to stop him. "No more. I believed you once. I forgave you once. I will not make that mistake again." He stood there in stunned silence. I picked up his bag and placed it by the door. "I want you to leave," I said. Ryan just stood there, his eyes wide with disbelief. "You're serious?" he asked. "Yes," I replied. "I'm exhausted. I gave you my love. I gave you my trust. You shattered both of them again." He took a hesitant step toward me. "Nicole, please," he began. "It's not what you think." I shook my head, a sense of finality washing over me. "I don't care anymore," I said. "You lied. I can't live like this." He sank onto the couch. "I have nowhere to go," he said quietly. That is no longer my problem, I stated, my voice devoid of its usual warmth. I gave you a home, I gave you a second chance, you threw it all away. He looked down at the floor, defeated. After a few long moments, he stood up and picked up his bag. I'll come back for the rest of my things, he said. No, I replied. Take them now. He looked surprised but didn't argue. He walked into the bedroom and gathered a few shirts, his pants and his shoes. I stood by the door watching him, my heart a heavy stone in my chest. I refused to cry. I had shed too many tears for him already. He returned with his bag full. He paused and looked at me one last time. Goodbye, Nicole, he said. I didn't answer. I just held the door open for him. He walked out and I slowly closed it behind him. Then I slid down to the floor, the silence of the apartment deafening. I felt tired, so incredibly tired. My hands were shaking. I took a deep, shuddering breath. I was finally alone, but for the first time in a long time, I was also free. The next morning, I woke up to a quiet house. There were no dirty cups in the sink, no shoes left by the door, no lingering scent of his cologne. It felt strange, empty, but also refreshingly clean. I went to work and Bate came by during my lunch break. We sat in the back room and I told her everything. I'm so proud of you, she said, squeezing my hand. I know how hard that must have been. I looked down at my tea. I still love him, a part of me does, I confessed. But I can't keep hurting myself for him. That's not weakness, Nicole, she said. That's strength. That evening, I sat on the couch alone, my eyes drawn to the empty space on the wall where a photo of us once hung. I had taken it down and put it in a drawer. Not in the trash, not yet, but I couldn't bear to look at it anymore. The days crawled by. Ryan didn't call or text, and I made no effort to reach out to him. I was determined to move forward. One evening after work, I was caught in the rain without an umbrella. I walked home, my clothes soaked and my shoes squelching with water. But I didn't feel cold. I just felt a quiet stillness inside me. My mind was exhausted, but my heart was beginning to find a sense of peace. I started to do small things just for me. I cooked my favorite meals, watched movies I had always wanted to see, and reconnected with old friends. While cleaning my closet, I found my old guitar, dusty and neglected. I hadn't played it in years. I sat down and strummed a few chords. My fingers were clumsy and hurt, but a small smile touched my lips. One Saturday, Bate came over. We made pasta and ate on the balcony, basking in the warm sun. You look better, she observed. I feel better, I replied. Not perfect, not yet, but better. We talked for hours, laughing about our silly high school memories. It was the best day I had experienced in weeks, but healing is not a straight line. A few days later, I saw Ryan near the train station. He was with another woman, a different one from the one Bate had seen. They were walking closely, and he looked happy. He didn't see me, but I saw him. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest, and a wave of nausea washing over me. I wanted to run, to scream, but I did nothing. I just stood there for a moment, then turned and walked away. That night the tears came again. I thought the pain was gone, but it was still there, hiding in the deep corners of my heart. I called Bate, and she arrived with a pint of ice cream. We sat in silence for a while before I whispered, I saw him. I'm so sorry, she said. I thought he would be alone, I admitted, my voice thick with emotion. But he's already moved on. Bate looked at me with wise eyes. He didn't move on, Nicole. He just found someone new to use. I wiped my tears. Why do people like him do this? I asked. Because they crave love, she said, but they have no idea how to keep it. I looked up at the ceiling. I don't want to become bitter. You're not bitter, Bate assured me. You're healing. Her words were a small comfort. In the weeks that followed, I felt a new strength growing within me. I took long walks in the park and rediscovered my love for reading. I found peace in the simplest things. The smell of fresh coffee, the comfort of warm socks, the feeling of clean sheets. One morning, I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were still a little tired, but I saw a faint light in them, a spark that had been missing for too long. I took out the old photo of Ryan and me. We were both smiling, but I now understood the difference. My smile had been real, his had been for show. I placed the photo in a box and closed the lid for good. At work, I smiled at customers, a genuine smile this time. I felt like myself again, still soft, still kind, but no longer blind. One afternoon, my phone rang with an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Nicole," a familiar voice said. It was Ryan. I froze. "Why are you calling me?" I miss you," he said. "I made so many mistakes, I know that." I said nothing. "I'm sorry," he continued. "I think about you all the time." I looked out the window. The sky was a brilliant blue. "I don't hate you, Ryan," I said calmly, "but I don't want you back in my life." There was a long silence on the other end. "I understand," he finally said. I just needed to say it. "Goodbye, Ryan," I said, and I ended the call. That night I slept more soundly than I had in months. Weeks turned into months and Ryan never called again. I was grateful for the silence. My heart and mind craved peace. Some days were still difficult, but the pain was duller, the memories less sharp. At a small cafe one day, Bate asked me, "Do you feel okay now, truly okay?" I thought for a moment. "I think I do," I said. "I'm not perfect, but I'm whole again." She smiled. "You're stronger than you think." "I know that now," I smiled back. One day, a customer named Sean came into the shop. He had kind eyes and a gentle smile. He needed help finding a gift for his sister. I helped him pick out a blue sweater. He thanked me warmly and left. He came back the next week and the week after that. Soon he started stopping by just to say hello. One afternoon, he brought me a coffee. "This is a small thank you for your help," he said. I smiled. "That's very sweet of you." "Maybe next time," he said a little nervously. "I could thank you with lunch." I looked at him. He seemed genuine, honest. There was no pretense. "Okay," I said. "One lunch." Our first lunch was simple. We talked about music, movies, and our favorite foods. I felt calm, not scared or anxious. Over the next few weeks, we continued to see each other. Our time together was always easy, always kind. Sean never pushed, never pried into my past. He just listened. He made me feel seen. One day, as we were walking by the river, he said something that stuck with me. "People who break your heart aren't always bad people. They're just not the right people for you." I looked at him and nodded. "That's true. You don't talk much about your past," he said gently, "but I can tell it hurt you." I took a deep breath. "It did, but I learned from it." He smiled. "That's what matters most." My feelings for Sean didn't ignite like a fire. They grew slowly, like a sunrise. You don't see the movement, but gradually the whole sky brightens. Some months later, I received one last message from Ryan. It just said, "I hope you're happy now." I didn't reply. I felt no anger, no sadness. I just felt peace. That chapter of my life was finally, truly closed. I had learned, I had healed, and I had moved on. I never thought I could trust someone fully again, but Sean showed me that love wasn't about grand promises or fiery passion. It was in the small things, a kind word, a shared silence, a soft laugh. One evening, he gave me his scarf because it was cold. I looked at him and said, "I used to think love was supposed to be a big, dramatic fire." "And now?" he asked. "Now," I said, wrapping the scarf tighter, "I think love is warm like this scarf." He smiled. "Good. Then we're on the same page." That night when I got home, I looked at my reflection in the mirror. I looked stronger. I looked calmer. I looked like me. I whispered to my reflection, "You took him back and he broke you again. But you got up, you healed, and you learned to love yourself more." I turned off the light, ready for whatever came next.